This week at Jam, we're releasing an entirely new onboarding flow. So here today, we have the team behind these changes. We're gonna show you the Figma and take you from before to after and talk about why we made the changes that we made. We're gonna show you Maze, which is our prototyping tool. So essentially, this is how we validated and tested these ideas before they went live. And then lastly, we're gonna talk about implementation and what this was like as well. So without further ado, let's get into it.
So these are not all states, but this is the onboarding flow as it stands today, which is you get invited, you have to log in. We then say like, install this thing, but you don't actually know what the hell this thing is that you got invited to. So like install a Chrome extension.
You're hard on
You then
yourself. There is a title there, right?
Yeah, I'm like, wait,
Yeah.
okay, like you can
let's
see
be
it.
honest.
Bug
I mean-
reports engineers love.
Right. But I haven't seen the product and I haven't been sold about the value of the product, right?
Mhm.
And then you're asking me to install software, and then we do a lot of things on this page. We try to teach users how to pin the extension, create their first jam. You can also watch a video of Ian, and then there's all this social proof on the website. So like this is the classic, like this page probably didn't start out like this, but we added stuff into it bit by bit. And then all of a sudden, instead of having one job, this view or this page started having like 5 different jobs. And then it becomes confusing, right? And if you actually got through to, pinning the extension and knowing what to do, you'd be able to create your first jam. So that was kind of the flow. The core metric that we measure across this is like how many first-time invited users actually go through the entire flow in its entirety and create their first jam. So that's kind of like the success metric, right? That the growth team tracks. And essentially, you want to look at the percentage of how many invites get sent out, get accepted, and then how many people end up signing up, but also creating a jam and realizing the value of the product. Cool.
It's so annoying that like that page you were just describing with like where like literally everything we've ever done is like on that page. I like loved it. now that you're looking at it, I'm like, oh no, I hate it. But I loved it for like a year.
And so take us. So what did you think next, or where did you start here?
Cool. So we looked at the onboarding flow initially, and this is what I mean with 2 onboarding flows. So we have a self-serve onboarding flow and then the invite onboarding flow. I'll start with the invite one because that's what we initially tackled. And then we worked our way back to the self-serve one, and sort of iterated from there. You get an invite. We use the real usernames for social proof and the team name that you were invited to.
Is that the
We
real
then
copy?
This is the real copy with placeholders, right? So like this would be then the actual team name that someone would have filled out on Gem anyway. So you're invited by Emma Carberry, which is a colleague that you know,
Yeah.
and they invited you to team, I don't
I
know,
love how it
Gem.dev.
says join the team. And that's like I love it. Like that's great. That's great copy. Invited you to join
Yeah.
the team. Instead of like join a team in a random tool you don't know. It's just like join the team. I love it.
Right. And then what we do here is this is going to be dynamic, or for every user, this invite looks different. So Petar spends a lot of time like just pulling the dynamic data. And so like, again, we're sort of revealing like there's this thing that you should join, and you know all these people that are behind this thing, right? And that's how we kind of nudge people in. Another thing that we did with the copy of the email, as I move this up here, is just add some more cues into the email itself. So like it only takes a minute to sign up, and if you're not convinced, you can actually look up an example bug report if you want to check out the product before actually joining. But generally, you would sign up, and then we just ask you for some information to let your team members know who you are. So we just ask for first name, last name, and the type of work that you do. And you also get to see what team you're actually joining. So join these other members. Another thing that we did is added a visual, just if you missed it, like what Jam is and what it does. So there's just an abstract version of like an abstract visual just subconsciously explain to you like, okay, this is what this tool does. It captures technical logs with the click of a button, and it's an extension. As you fill this out, we also wanted to, again, sell users on the value. So depending on what like organization you or like what type of work you do, so like design, product, we have some micro copy to explain like what functions like your or people in your role what they use Jam for. So in this case, I'm a designer, so I filled this out as a designer. Designers use Jam to make implementation details pixel perfect. That will vary depending if you're in customer success, sales. That's a quick way to sort of like show that value up front, and help users explain it. Then we have Ian. Ian is in the onboarding flow. So again, the next thing we need to do, when you're an invited user, is you don't have the actual Jam extension installed. And so what you would want to do is actually install that. And if you're still not convinced, we have a video of Ian to just explain to you how to actually get started. Once you do that, you get rerouted to the Chrome Web Store. And then from there, you get to install the extension. We make it really easy, and we sort of slice up now this big page with multiple sort of use cases that we've created into like multiple steps. So first, like, hey, pin the extension first for easy access. And then what we really wanted to focus on again is teaching people how to use the extension and the jam initially. And that means capturing, then sharing the jam. So once you've created it, like actually sending it somewhere, right? So other people also see and experience the tool. Like there's no point in you just capturing stuff if you don't send it to an engineer. And then also understanding like what the engineer will see on the other side. And like, this is how you get to the full value proposition of debugging, which is like Jam helps you capture and resolve bugs faster, right? It's not only about capturing, it's actually about resolving them and increasing the speed of your product development or engineering team. And then you head to the dashboard. So that's sort of the redesign. There's a bunch of edge cases. What if you skip certain steps? But that's generally the invite flow.
Oh, Petar, I noticed a little like we're asking people what job title, well, not job title, but I guess like what area they work in. Is this like the first time in Gem history where we have any type of like extra question, right? It's the
That's
first time,
right.
right? Yeah.
That's right. I've seen many onboarding flows, but this is actually first time that we ask people, what do you do? This is going to be influential on the growth side, but also we
Yeah.
will have personalized profiles. Imagine one day,
Mm.
like on YouTube, you will have like your own gem handle, so you can have like your public profile.
Yeah. We just
Another reason why we did that, Ivana, is for you.
I know.
Because
That's
now you have first name, last name, and you can send out categorized emails depending on the function, right, of the
I
user.
can do
So
segmentation. It's gonna be
yes, you
amazing.
can. It's going to be great.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm thinking about all
Um,
how you can tailor the messaging. I mean, I think that feels
exactly.
like you could
Just
just make it
with
more
just with
appropriate
just with
for.
a
Yeah.
couple of data points, right? Can you see this now? Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So one of the tools that we use in design is actually Maze. So again, like onboarding, critical part of your product, really, really high risk area to touch if you don't know what you're doing. And when you're redesigning it, you want to kind of, gather some form of data before actually shipping it. Now, what you could say is like, oh, let's just ship it, and then, you get real data out of that release of shipping it. But if you also have a lot of people that move through your onboarding that then might not have a good experience. So one of the ways that we get some data before actually shipping stuff or writing code is through Maze. Maze is a tool where we can link up our Figma prototypes and then just build a survey as they're walking through the prototype. And at different points, just ask open-ended questions, have people rate stuff. But in the background, Maze actually like gathers data on what people are doing, where they're clicking in the Figma prototype. So not only from sort of a step level, like where people are dropping off, where things might be confusing. We get the answers of individual questions that we ask and the screen recordings. And then what we can also take a look at is what I wanted to show is actually we also get heat maps from where users are actually clicking. So
Wait,
I'm
and how
just
do people
wondering.
get how do people like answer these questions? Like when does this survey like pop up?
So we create a prototype, we build the survey, we then send out that survey to any audience. In this case, we did it very, very startup style. We went onto the PM subreddit, we went to Lenny's newsletter, and we just said like, hey, we're testing a new onboarding flow. Like, please
Oh.
fill out this survey and we're going to donate for every like survey response, we're going to donate X amount of dollars to a charity. And so we just did that. And the reason why we needed to do that is because we couldn't ask our existing user base to test our onboarding because they already understand what Jam is and what the value of Jam is, right? And so we needed to filter out and get a completely new audience, but also not a like completely outside of tech sort of like audience in a sense. So it needed to still be a little bit close to to the people we serve every day, which are engineers, product managers, QA, customer success, and generally people working in tech or with software products. And so, does that answer your question, Ilana?
Yes.
Good. Um, Very good. I wanted to show you the heat mapping, and I might actually have to go to the report, maybe. Yes, there we go. So this is also great because this is data gathered, and like what people think, what they say, and then what they actually do in your product are entirely three separate things because we're humans. And so again, having a little bit of data around like where people are actually clicking or trying to click is actually really insightful for design on a sort of microscopic level, right? Like what are users doing first, right? This was sort of like everyone clicked on the first name first. That's kind of good, right? And they didn't get distracted by this image, meaning like the designer did a good job at, or we did a good job at, um, sorry, just talking about
You did
talking
good.
about myself in third. In third, Martin did a good job
Nice job,
talking about
designer.
myself. Yeah, nice job, designer. Talk about yourself in third person. But you don't want this to look too realistic because essentially what you would see is like people actually clicking around into the thing and mistaking it for an actual piece of UI. Positioning clearly also matters. And we can kind of go in and kind of see the first click, like spot on. Every first click was kind of like there. But we do see if we go to different parts of the product, or different parts of the onboarding flow, we kind of see like maybe first clicks, the majority of first clicks were actually yes on the left, but like actually there were some also on the video. So some people actually wanted to see the video. Um, Again, sort of seeing, did anyone think this illustration was sort of clickable? Um, you get what I mean. One of the things that we noticed here, and this is actually a really good example, is we had this illustration in here. This is an illustration, and it just showed like, hey, in the next step, you need to add the extension to Chrome. But it looked like a button in the UI, but it's an illustration. And so everyone tried to click it. And so now you get to do two things as a designer. Either so Petar and me talked about like either we make this whole image clickable, or we just dial down and make it a lot more clear that this is an illustration so people don't click this thing and they click the actual button to install the browser extension, right? So that's how this is something you could never read out of the survey. You have to actually look at the data um, to understand what's going on.
I had a question
I'm
for Martin,
yeah,
but I don't know
yeah,
if it's like super relevant to the podcast, but I found it interesting how you were talking about how the image needed to be more illustration like, because if you look like make it too real, like the product, people try to click it and it's like they don't understand that this is an illustration. And that's like interesting to me as a designer, how you balance those types of things. Like from the marketing side, I always think about always like trying to show the product as real as possible, like never an illustration, always a real product. And
yeah.
so that was interesting that there are moments when that's not the case.
It's it's honestly it's like one of the hardest things to do. Like to exactly what you there's this tension between like you want to show the real product UI, but you don't want it too real because then you're like, depending on where that is shown, like in a marketing banner, on an onboarding, in an email, it might just be too much cognitive load. And then the message that you have around the illustration or the visual just kind of gets lost, right? Because like then you're looking at the UI more. There's just so much tension. I don't think I have a good answer um, on how to solve it other than like you need to really think about the message paired with the image that you're designing and then you scrap everything. It's almost like you take the UI and you take everything out that has nothing to do with the core message that you're trying to
Yeah.
design on the left or top or whatever sort of formats it's in. It's really difficult.
Yeah.
um and then like it's yeah, it's kind of like you saw in the onboarding per se, it's I can also share this maybe if this is like, like an interesting thing that we want to look at. Like, what are you trying to convey here subtly is like, it's a bug report that captures these technical things, and also it kind of works as an extension. And then you sort of map these things down here. And again, like the user is actually trying to achieve something else. And we as a growth team want them to move through the onboarding as frictionless as possible. So we want something that makes it clear, like, this is a software product that does these things. You don't need to know exactly what it does, but you sort of have a hunch, right? And a directional sort of like idea. I think to answer your question, like, how do you do this with marketing material? Is you literally think about the message that you're trying to convey. So, like, you start out with the words, so you don't have any visuals at all. You really think about the words, and then you just iterate and iterate, and you take pieces of UI and maybe you blur stuff out or you reduce it, but you
Yeah.
just keep going to the end of time until you kind of get to some version where you feel like, okay, now I've gotten to a place where like I feel these things work together, and so when I'm reading this, I fully understand what's actually going on, right?
Petar, I'd love to hear more. Like, I wonder if we can transition to hear more about just how we implemented this and some of the challenges that came up as you were building this out.
Right. What I really liked working with Martin is so much attention to detail. Like, we covered all possible edge cases. Like, if you're not coming from Chromium browser, because currently Gem works only on Chrome, we will show you this nice screen which says your browser is not supported. Please switch to Brave, Edge, Arc, or Google Chrome. If you are opening this page in Arc, we dedicated a whole new model with Arc language. Like, there is a nice Arc illustration, there is nice Arc pin, your Chrome extension icon. And we did that for each of those Chromium browsers. That was one of the challenges. Let's see. This is the invite email that's sent when teammate is invited. By clicking join your team, you will proceed to new onboarding flow. This is currently deployed on our PR environment. There are some errors, but hopefully this is going to work. If I fill my name and last name and go there and select design, I should be able to pass this step. This is the screen that Martin was presenting a few minutes ago, where we made this add to Chrome button on purpose lighter gray and added a cursor so it feels more like real illustration. If you click install Chrome extension, you will be redirected to Google Chrome Store. After installing the Chrome extension, there will be a ping to our current window, and then you will be redirected to your dashboard.
Petar, thanks for showing that. I know you got to jump, so appreciate it.
See you around.
Okay.
Martin, you're so fun to have on the podcast. Like, we should just get him a regular spot.
I think it just Ian just laughs at everything I say.
Yeah,
He's just you're my hype man.
Yeah, show us.
it's really contagious.
Yeah.
Well, sweet. Okay, cool. I think that does it for today. Thanks so much.
See you guys.
Bye, you guys.
Bye.
Bye.